Oh, man. Finally. It only took 20 episodes for Ink and Echo to be what it was supposed to be, the Stefan and Josh show, without Crooked Andy.
Pure, unadulterated intelligence.
Yeah, it just... it turned out enough people on Twitter were basically rioting against Andy being a host on the show, and they just said, I mean, Josh, we love you so much. Stefan, who was on episode 8, we really just would rather he was around instead of Andy just being like pedals, guitars, derp, 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 all the just music. That's all he ever talks about.
Well, and
basically.
And the like freaking puns, like he's calling me Stemfin, thinking it's some clever thing he came up with, or what with the Trevor episode.
Yeah,
asking if he was an Eagle Man. Like seriously, like that's real podcasting. I wouldn't listen to that.
Right. Yeah, every one of our listeners wrote in and and said they didn't actually laugh at that at all. At anything.
Hey guys, I just got in here. What are you doing?
Hey,
what's up, man?
Look who's here.
It's good to see you.
Hey, Andy Othling, good old Andy. That's what I always say.
I'm proud you guys started this without me. This is nice.
Well, I mean, we figured it out. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm so thankful for you guys. This is really a huge blessing for me that you started.
Thanks, Andy.
Hey, hold on. I wasn't prepared. I'm going to go downstairs and get a beer real quick, okay?
Hey, all right. Hey, we'll see you in a minute.
Okay,
sounds
great.
good,
buddy.
Sounds good.
All right,
BRB.
Chief. Hey, all right. Take care,
Okay,
Andy.
hold on.
Oh man, what a guy that Andy.
Yeah.
Mother. God, is he gone?
Yeah, he's out.
What a jackass.
Yeah.
Just walks in, slamming the doors. Doggone it. I almost said the Lord's name in vain. I was so frustrated about it. I really thought we were done with this, but apparently he found his way back on the show.
Well, you can't lose them all. Well, this one we wanted to lose, but it's all right.
I think I'm going to start my own band called Uppercase Noises and just play as loud.
Okay, I am ready.
Hey,
All right.
Andy.
Ready to do the show.
Hey, Andy, what'd you grab over there?
Got a Malpais Stout from La Cumbre. Get elevated, baby.
I have a handcrafted taste in a can. Oh, Buried Hatchet Stout.
So you guys already started the show, right? You did the intro music?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
how's
great.
it going so far? Is it good?
Yeah.
It was really very good.
Good.
And in fact, the beginning of what you missed was probably the best thing we've ever done on this show.
Oh,
Actually.
cool. I can't wait to hear it.
Yeah. You'll enjoy listening back to that.
Okay. Cool.
Hey, we got Stefan on the show.
Hey, Stefan.
Hey, I'm back.
First returning guest.
Yeah, well, sort of.
What do you mean, sort of?
Can you guys take down the first episode I did, or like, sorry, is that too soon?
No.
Yeah,
That's funny. That's pretty funny. Well, hey, you're back.
Yeah, it's good to be back.
I gave you a full keyboard this time.
Yeah, and a full can of beer.
Yeah.
So I'll use both of them.
At the same
Yeah,
time?
this goes.
Yes.
I was thinking after the last Goodboy show that I hope people. I was worried that people didn't download it because it was called the Goodboy Show, which is kind of a dumb name, and it had a dumb image, and yet it was one of my favorite talks that we've done.
Yeah.
Because it was actually meaningful to me.
Yeah.
So none of these other ones have been meaningful.
Bad. All of them have been meaningful. Yeah. Anyway, sorry. Hey, just like the last Goodboy show that was inspired kind of basically by another podcast, so is this one, at least for me.
Are we just jumping right into this? We're not going to ask Stefan about like a life update or something?
No, I'm good.
He's not a guest. He's basically a host.
Okay.
Here. He's an equal part of the Zelda symbol.
Yeah. Wait,
which I don't know the name for, and haven't
it's
played that game.
The Triforce. Am I courage, wisdom, or power?
Wisdom, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what are you, power, Andy?
What's the other one?
Courage?
Must be power then.
So traditionally, the Triforce is in each game split between, not traditionally, but in most of the games it's split between Zelda, Ganon, and Link.
I don't know what you're talking about right now.
And Toadstool is in the middle, or the little toad from Mario.
Yeah, for
Brothers,
like
he sits in the middle.
Yeah,
of
for the fan fiction porn, that's where it usually is.
Is Yoshi in there?
Yeah.
Does he get to catch an egg with his tongue?
Yeah, let's not
What
go
the
down that road.
What are you guys talking about?
Hey, okay. Time jumping.
Okay.
So, there's a guy named Joe Rogan. Heard of him?
Yep.
Heard of him? JR.
He did a lot of dumb things before he did a great thing, which is start a podcast.
Best thing you can do, in my opinion.
And there was an episode.
Hey, did you guys hear my
recently-
Eagle Man joke last week? What'd you think of that?
Huh?
It was great.
No, I haven't.
you-
No, I didn't. I guess I didn't hear that one.
You liked it, Stefan?
I thought it was brilliant. I
Okay.
mean, that's why people should get into podcasting.
Oh, yeah. I'm just a great personality, I think.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead. Joe Rogan, JR.
I think it's Joe.
Oh, yeah. I missed some letters.
That'd be Ju-
I was spelling out his whole name. I
That'd be-
missed most of them.
Junior Rogan.
He had on a guest, a guy named Jordan Peterson,
JP.
and damn it. And this was another 3-hour conversation, and it went many places. And Jordan B. Peterson is a very intelligent man.
Mm-hmm.
And doggone it, that show kind of undid me in some ways and made me scared for our country a bit. And heavy in general, but also gave me some good things to think about
Yeah.
our times,
Yeah.
the days we live in.
So, Stefan, what was your general, not takeaway, but the feeling you got after listening to it?
So I didn't like that guy at first, not Joe Rogan, but the other guy on there.
JP?
Yeah, JP. But towards the end of the episode, I really liked him. I don't know if that makes sense, but
Sure, it's a good arc.
well, he sort of came off at the top of the podcast as being like a victim of this crazy thing, and he was a victim, but he seemed to kind of fall to victim stereotype, and then by the end, I understood why he was angry, which I really appreciated. He was very articulate, and there was a lot of stuff in that podcast that really got me thinking. So I liked it. I felt good afterwards because it gave my brain a lot to chew on for the last couple of days since I've heard it. So, what about you? How did you feel about it?
It overwhelmed me a lot. And and it didn't sit well in my head. Like I agree with a lot of it, I think, but I feel like I'm in a place right now where I've got so much information. I'm trying to figure so many things out that when stuff gets added to the conversation in my head, I'm just like more and more like, oh no, I don't need another thing right now. So that kind of clouded it for me. Well, okay, Josh. So since this was your baby of a podcast, like, give a little synopsis. What was this about? It's not social media.
Well,
that's potentially part of it, but
yeah, that's certainly an element. I mean, so Jordan B. Peterson, he is a professor at the University of Toronto in Canada and is sort of under some fire right now for a number of reasons. And I mean, he also does these lengthy YouTube videos that are an hour or more long that are basically lectures that he just kind of produces on his own. But he's under fire because primarily he's not going to go along with all of these pronouns.
well, it was a specific law or mandate that he was given to him that he's not going to do.
Sure.
I forget what the level of it was, right?
Yeah.
Right. But it's all surrounding basically sexual orientation or gender identity, and that there have been so many terms, they say over 70 at this point, that if many of which essentially have been made up by the public and have just sort of been randomly adopted, because if you don't adopt it, you get publicly shamed and you...
Well, surely they're made up by the people who identify as whatever they just came up with.
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course, right. But so he's basically saying... I mean, I don't want to misspeak for him. You should just go listen to it. I know it's 3 hours long, but just that we're in a dangerous period with all of this stuff because, I mean, at the heart of it, what stuck with me was that we're becoming less and less allowed to say anything about race or gender, and everything is becoming politically correct, and that if you're not that, then you better watch out because you're going to get a shitstorm on the internet. And I mean, granted, I put it in my notes. I want to say up front, like the three of us are white guys. We've had relatively easy.
We listen to a
lives.
podcast with two other white guys that we're talking about right now.
Like, so we don't know what it's like to be a person of color. We don't know what it's like to be a woman. We don't know what it's like to really be put under any severe suffering or be prejudiced against. But that doesn't change the fact that I think we are in a dangerous period in our culture where if it swings one way, the freedom is going to continue to diminish until basically you can get in trouble for anything, and perhaps even legal trouble, and not just sort of this public shaming, I don't know, being degraded online or losing your reputation online because of something you said that was either taken out of context or called out as a hate crime or something. And listen, even as I'm saying this, I normally hate to even go into this territory.
Yeah, I was going to inquire as to why you felt so strongly this time.
Yeah. I basically think it's too important not to be talking about. And I just feel in a weird position where why... I mean, people might get mad at this, but why do I need to... Why when I go online and do I feel guilty basically for being a white male because of other things that people say, primarily on Twitter? And I know that's not, again, we covered that before, that's not the place to like get your sense of self-worth or even get truth. The internet is not the place to get that. And I recognize horrific things have been done by white males, and like that we live in a structure that is sort of supposedly under the control of men. The patriarchy is the term. Oh boy, I'm getting nervous even saying this, but I just feel like why that isn't me. And yet the internet would say that I need to feel guilty for who I am not, and that if I don't sort of bow my head and go with my tail tucked between my legs to people who have been victimized by other men, that I am somehow a horrific, shitty person. I feel like I'm not articulating well because I am trying to figure this out in my own head. And, I'm not at all denying the fact that, I don't know, that people have been victimized in this country.
Yeah.
And,
well, I mean, can I just tell you this didn't really change a lot about what I thought. It just kind of confused me more. But here are two basic things that I will say that I believe. One is that victims are the only ones allowed to, make a judgment on what's been done to them. So meaning that
Yes.
So a person of color or a woman, you and I and Stefan here, we have no way to argue against what's being done to them or has been done to them.
Yeah.
So I am in no way willing to say that, oh no, you're not a victim or you're not having a troubled time. Whereas even in such a way that, I'm in the whole privilege thing, I very much think that we're privileged as white men.
Right.
And so I really want to, and I'm not willing to say who's a victim and who's not, because that's up to a victim to say. So that's
Sure.
that's one thing. The second thing is that I really am against the whole social justice warrior thing on the internet. And I think the internet part is a thing for me. And it really, because the podcast said they're trying to do good things in the world. And I don't understand all the talk of Marxism and liberal versus leftist, like that stuff I just don't get. But I where am I going with this? The thing I don't like is the shaming, like you said. And
Right.
that hits me most because, you two know I've had a slight taste of it before in the past, and it really messed me up, and I'm not really willing to talk about it here yet. But that's like a huge thing for me, is the internet shaming thing. So those are, I think that's wrong. I think a lot of people are going about quote unquote justice wrong on the internet, particularly.
Yes.
Other than that, I don't really know what to say about this podcast. And I was a little, not confused, but just, kind of fascinated by the fact that you were so fascinated by it, Josh. I don't know if you feel the same stuff, and you seem to.
Yeah, I was pretty fascinated by it overall. One thing that I was going to kind of add to this idea is of being a white, straight male. I'm middle class. Like I'm not, I'm not down and out all the time.
Just some of the time.
Some of the time. No, there's some times where it's like, oh man, it's rough. Anyway, but it's kind of hard because this idea of these of different people groups that have been marginalized, looking at someone like me and saying like, you're the problem, like you are the white middle class male that's like perpetuating these issues, but not actually getting to know me, because it's like I am not homophobic. I don't see myself as racist, and like I'm not going to go through like a list of reasons why not, but I don't like I'm not anti different gender naming, but like I feel like on the flip side of it, where this guy was coming from is like, you also need to respect the idea that it's like, maybe I don't see things the way you see things, and like you shouldn't force me to see it that way.
But his explanation was way more nuanced and made way more sense, because even the way you just said it is kind of like, could very easily be taken as like, I'm just going to ignore what you think and your experience.
Yeah, totally.
Which it wasn't.
That's not.
But
what I'm
could
saying,
you, Josh? Could you maybe like distill that idea down some? Like why he felt okay saying he wasn't going to do that?
Well, yes, because I think if we let that trend continue, and this is more speaking back to the sort of gender identity thing, which I truly believe has almost nothing to do with sex itself. It has almost nothing to do with sexual like intimacy. It's about identity as a person and identity in gender. And what he was saying is these these terms that are just very rapidly being made up, and then very rapidly, before our culture as a whole even understands them, there's being laws put around them in certain places that pretty soon, am I going to be able to, be put in jail because I didn't realize that someone identifies as like a gerbil or something and I didn't know the proper term to call them? Like, that's the horse shit that just that is dangerous.
Well,
If basically, if it gets so big in the culture that the government starts thinking, oh, that's a real thing, we need to put rules around that. That is absolutely horrific. And
and that's he made a good analogy, not analogy, but he was saying in his college or whatever, he's like, I can say the N-word and that's free speech and that's not against the law, but I can't not call someone what they want to be called.
Yeah.
Which was an interesting distinction, I guess, or way to make it come out as stranger than you might think.
Right. And to be clear, he was not okay with the N-word. He was just saying it's not illegal to say
like
that.
He wouldn't be punished
illegal
for saying it, he would be punished for not calling someone they instead of he or something.
Well, and
yes.
I think there's an interesting parallel too of the reason like people hate like more religious lobbyists or like kind of religious ideology put into laws is the same exact reason this guy's like pushing back against using all these like different terms as law for like gender identity. Just because, I mean, like people like there's a lot of people that have like a bad taste of Christianity in their mouth, rightfully so, because they try to pass laws that just push their own interests and it's not necessarily for the betterment of everyone. And I think that's a little bit of what he's saying in this is like, this doesn't benefit society as a whole. In fact, it's like hampering free speech and acceptance and tolerance. Like it's doing the opposite of what everyone's saying that it's doing. So
that sounds like a better distillation kind of.
And okay, on that note, to something Andy said earlier, I think our culture again has, especially millennials, and I'm sorry to use that term. I know I am one. I freaking hate it. I hate being clumped into that. But just anyway,
you're just
for sake of
embrace it, dude. Come on.
You're just a clumpy millennial.
So millennials have so embraced this as a whole, at large. I'm not saying all of them. We've embraced this idea that, we need to accept everyone and like everything is okay and everybody. And so that in and of itself, that mindset is creating victims who are not actually victims. You could say you've been victimized because somebody on the subway called you a bitch or like told you to get the fuck out of the way or something. 50 years ago, you would have had to sack up and just deal with it. Or, I don't know. You can't even get, well, I'm not going to go there anyway, but just, this whole victim shit, if anything could be a victim, I could probably come up with something completely fake and put it online of like, this happened to me. Will you guys please like huddle around me and make me feel better and like go after the person
kind of
who
like,
did this to me?
I need money for a movie. Here's a Kickstarter.
Okay.
No. I know
that was a low blow. I apologize.
I know what you're saying where it's like, hey, this like person at Starbucks called me this name and I think it's super offensive. And
see, but this is, and I really apologize for that joke, Josh. That was...
Oh, I'm not actually upset. I was just upset because my point got interrupted.
No, but this is the stuff that makes me uncomfortable about all of this is because these people who like want to be called these pronouns, like I have no idea what that life is like, and there's probably some stuff that they need that society is not giving them. And like,
oh yeah, without a doubt.
But, what are those things? And how do we fix that? I mean, I'm in no place or I'm not smart enough to even begin to help in that situation. But it's really hard for me to hear talk about victim stuff in a general sense because it seems like it has to be dealt with on like an individual level.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I don't even know what to say about it here because I haven't talked to one of those people who wants to be called Zir or Zay or whatever. Like, why? What's going on here in your life, or what does your life even look like? Because surely it's so different from mine. I just am really uncomfortable saying, and that's I think a problem. Maybe tertiary problem to this, or maybe a complementary problem. Surely it's an internet problem where we just throw out things in generalize a whole ton of things. And I just think a lot of stuff we end up arguing about is really meant to be solved on an individual basis and not like here, let's have a debate and us three white guys will decide what's best for victims across the country.
Yeah, well, and so I feel like if you want to be identified, by another like pronoun for your gender identity, I think it's your responsibility to like educate someone. So for example, I've worked at restaurants for the last like decade. And people will come in and they'll say like, "Hey, do you have anything that's paleo?" And so like if you're working there and you don't know what paleo is, like you're kind of out of luck and you're like, "Well, I don't know." And then all of a sudden like you're the idiot and then it's like, "Well, you don't know what paleo is." Like I've had people get mad at me cuz like I don't know what their diet is and I don't know what's on our menu. So I feel like if you want to do something that's not necessarily normal, but you want it to become normal, like you kind of got to start with yourself. But when you start like at a high level of a law and require people to understand that, like I feel like it's kind of unfair to others. And then you kind of skip the whole conversation step where it's like, oh, you identify as both male or female or whatever it might be. You kind of miss all those steps to get to the point where those pronouns are important. And then it's just like required of you. And then there's no education, where I feel like it's your responsibility, if you are doing something that's not like socially normal, like to educate the person lovingly and not have it just be this iron fist that comes down, just like, "Oh, you're this ignorant, bigoted idiot." But it's like, no, I really genuinely want to understand what paleo is so I can help you. Or I genuinely want to understand what to call you because I want to respect you as a human. But if you require that of me, it's a totally different dynamic. And I think that's kind of where this dude was coming from a little bit too. Anyway, I don't know if that's a complete tangent or if that makes sense.
No, that is helpful. I think, and there's the fact that these things, even with something simple like diet, that are these new trends are coming out so fast. Not that gender identity is a trend necessarily, but no one could possibly keep up with all of them. And so, there have been those scenarios for me as well, where, I stumbled over calling someone the incorrect thing. And I don't know, listeners, please hear, I'm not at all saying that these people just need to shut up and stop doing what they're doing. It's just that I think that we're entering dangerous territory because it just gets out of hand. Andy, what's up?
Well, I was just thinking of something I just had happen a couple days ago, where here's the way I got an email from somebody who was like, "Hey, my boyfriend loves your music. Can you please like send him an email for his birthday tomorrow or something?" So all I did was I filmed a little video in my car and just immediately sent it off to him because I was like, that'd be a cool thing to do and I can do it real quick and then it's done. But the email, so this person said boyfriend, but it was a name such that I didn't know if the partner was a male or female.
It's like Jordan.
Mm-hmm.
No, it was something like just exotic. Exotic is not the right word. Like
Steven.
Foreign to me, like from South America somewhere.
Okay.
So I was thinking,
Our Lady of Guadalupe.
But I purposely was sort of vague in the email. I was like, "Hey, your partner sent me this email and they wanted me to say this," because I didn't know if it was he or her. And I only had to say that at the beginning. I didn't but should I have? I have no idea if that was better to just kind of be vague about it, or if I should have been like, "Hey, so what do I call you as the person writing?" Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That was what I did in the moment. And now that I'm thinking about it, I just hope that wasn't that thing can't be offensive. I don't know. I mean,
well, if you're also dealing with the language barrier, don't worry about it. Like,
Yeah. I was honestly just trying to be like not assuming like, oh, it's your boyfriend, so you must be a female. Like I didn't want to assume that. So I don't know. I hope I did the right thing there. I didn't really think about it too much other than just like I'm just trying to be general, I guess. I don't know if that ties in here or not.
Yeah.
I mean, but just the fact that we're in a day and age where you have to tiptoe around that.
But
stuff
I didn't see it as that. I just wanted to respect this person.
Well, sure, of course, yes. But there's just
like I didn't feel some oppressive weight to like have to say the right thing. Stefan's on beer number 2.
This podcast is going to get perpetually excellent.
Sorry, I don't mean to keep interrupting you, Josh. Go ahead.
No, but it's just, is there not some degree of fear involved on your part? Like an inkling that's like, I hope I get this right because this new thing exists in the way that we must speak and approach people.
I mean,
that you could either get hugely in trouble or you could like happen upon the right answer.
In that specific instance, I didn't feel that at all. Like I said, the whole thing took 4 minutes from receiving the email to sending it off. And I was just, I'm not really thinking about it till right now on that level. And I don't know if that's good or if that's a problem. It's kind of what I'm saying. The fact that I didn't really think about it. Everyone in the situation was stoked. This person wants to get their partner a cool video from one of their favorite artists. And I was like, hell yeah, I'll do that. That's great. It made me feel good. I don't know. So I don't know how much I can glean out of that specific instance, but none of that went through my head. None of this stuff did.
Yeah.
I just wanted these people to be happy.
And I think that's okay that you didn't have to go through all these hoops to be like, okay, am I using the right words? I mean, the fact that you thought about it shows that you cared. And even if you didn't think about it and like maybe it is a guy and a guy couple, like,
yeah. And I said girlfriend.
And you said
video
girlfriend, like whatever, like if they're upset about it, then you have an opportunity to have a quick conversation and you can apologize and hopefully, they're gracious enough. I mean, they're asking you for a favor too. So,
right.
I mean, I think you handled it well, but I mean, my hope is that, as someone who may be trans, or bi or whatever they want to be represented as, my hope is that they would be gracious with, people that are not using the right terminology and just be like, okay, like this is kind of new for us as a society and it's not like you're intentionally being offensive.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I mean, I would hope someone that, looks kind of gender neutral, you can't tell if they're a guy or a girl. Like, I would hope they'd be gracious enough to be like, oh, no, I'm actually a guy. Like,
right.
Or they want to be identified as a guy. Like, my hope is that I'm trying to do my best to be respectful to you. I hope you can be respectful to me as well.
In my ignorance of,
yeah, if that makes sense. So.
Yeah.
Yes, that would be the hope.
So is it, in your mind, Josh, is that what's lacking in this? Is it like a lack of graciousness on both sides? Is that what this is to you?
That is at least an element. Yes, I think I just fear I know I've used the words fear and scared a lot of times already on this podcast, but the things that I see flare up online, not just Twitter, but in articles or whatever else, I'm just like, are you fucking kidding me? Like someone went to jail for that, or someone lost their job for that petty little thing. That, and that could be widely ranging, but basically it all boils down to the only thing I'm against in all of this is a culture where I don't know, where people are allowed to get offended about anything.
Yeah.
And I think we have perpetuated that with all this acceptance stuff. And so it's I don't know, the gender stuff, I don't fully understand it, and of course I want to be loving and gracious with anyone that I encounter. the internet is not loving or gracious.
Nope.
And it isn't at all. Yeah, I can't pretend to understand it, but I don't want to perpetuate this culture in which we're not allowed to say anything, and even to the point of like not being able to joke about it or not being able to talk openly about it in an appropriate setting. I don't know.
Yeah, well, and that's where people get themselves in trouble, is they joke on the internet where they think they're in a little bubble, and then it gets out. I mean, that was a lot of what happened in that book I read from John Ronson, So You've Been Publicly Shamed. It was right. Justine Sacco who makes a tweet, a bad joke, but her attempt at a joke before she gets on a long plane flight, and by the time she landed, she'd lost her job and was a shut-in in her house for years afterwards because of all the, stuff going on. Because of that, that's the stuff I don't like. And it again, for me, it does seem to come back to the mechanism of the internet. If someone said a bad joke, a really bad joke that I thought was in bad taste in front of me, I hope I could be like, hey man, like that sucked. Like don't do that. And be like, hey, give me your boss's phone number. Let me call him up so you can lose your job right now. Like,
right.
That's where my heart is for all of this stuff. I don't know what to say for the people wanting to identify as something. I for right now, given my zero knowledge, like I'm going to let them do what they feel like they need to do. So I don't know.
Yeah. Well, here's something interesting. We can come back to this if you had more to say, but so let's say like there's this whole, Andy, as you're well versed in, like the weird Twitter stuff, the whatever they are, these anonymous joke accounts, meme accounts. Some of the most horrific things I've ever read on earth have been there. And yet it's okay and we laugh at it because it's an anonymous thing. And because that person can't possibly get in trouble unless someone like hacks and finds out what their email is. I mean,
well, and to be clear, there are personalities on there that are open about who they
themselves.
Are, and they are still the worst people in the world. So I'll just throw that out there. That exists.
So it's like, I guess I'm not making a point really, but why is that okay? Why do those people have, in some cases, tens of thousands of followers?
It's because they've figured out the medium. They know how to come back to people, and they can fight their ass off.
I don't know.
Well, and they have tens of thousands of followers, so if someone comes against them, they just sick their horde of people on them. It's almost the same thing, the shaming thing on the other side.
It's like internet gangs of New York.
In that setting, like, is it okay to use a joke with the N-word, and because it's a meme account, everybody just thinks it's okay and funny?
I don't know.
Or to say something.
I don't know that. I follow a lot of those people, and I, on a daily basis, I get such joy out of the insane amounts of irony and sarcasm in these people that like soothes my soul in a twisted way. But yeah, I'm very much like, I don't know if this is, one, if it's good for me to be just steeped in irony for 20 minutes and sarcasm while I'm on Twitter, but two, if it's good in general, because there's some times where I'm like, it's really good that some of this binary, and I mean binary in terms of like here's the good side or the bad side of this thing, and they just like slice it down the middle and like, have you thought about these other things? So that I don't know if I can answer that question. I don't know. And I mean, I think it boils down to potentially to like free speech. I don't know how much, it depends how much you value that, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. And I think context is kind of important too. Cause if you think of like South Park says the most insane things, but it's like everything is predicated on the fact that it's going to be offensive and it's going to be kind of in your face. So I think the same thing with like these Twitter accounts, like people already know what you're getting into, and that's just what's expected. But when it comes from, in that book you're talking about, that girl who lost her job because of a terrible joke she made, she was a reporter for a company. She wasn't a writer for South Park. And I'm not saying it's okay, but it's like when you set yourself up for kind of that insanity to start with, that's what's expected of you, and that's, you know, the norm. And comedians are kind of the same thing, where comedians say some of the most terrible things, like Louis C.K. talks about.
Oh, yeah.
Some of the most insane things, but at the same time, he has like this bit of humanity. But that's like his bit, like that's what he does, and people expect that from him.
I mean, all I have to really say to that is like the people who lose their jobs, like the punishment far out exceeded the the sin,
the crime. I totally,
crime. Yeah,
I totally agree with you. I'm not saying it's okay or justified, but I mean, when you put it in the light of when you set yourself up as doing those kind of insane tweets, that's what's expected all the time, and so you can get away with it a little bit more. I'm not saying it's okay or better or any of that.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. It's tricky though, because just those lines are so undefined and assumed. And I mean, presumably, someone should be able to walk into a comedy show, especially if it's a comedian they know, and kind of, like Stefan said, know what they're going to get, know what they're in for. And I don't know, maybe the stuff with people losing their jobs is more like corporate bullshit with just PR being like, oh, we need to, you know, wash our hands of this person and make sure that no one thinks we're that. I don't know.
I mean, no, there's death threats and people coming to their houses. So no, it's not just that.
Okay. With the comedians, there are death threats?
Oh, no. Sorry. I thought you were talking about like the Twitter people who lose their jobs. There's also, you know, people say they're going to kill them and come to their house. That happens.
Gotcha. Okay. Oh, man.
But hey,
I just don't know.
Here's a question for you, Josh. Like, when you heard this podcast, did it strike you because you, like, there's a thing you want to do or be able to say that you feel like is being stifled by this stuff? Or no?
No, I just view the entire thing as a collective loss of freedom. And it's not even, please hear me, it's not the freedom to like be prejudiced or be racist. It's more little tiny rules being put up all the time that just sort of narrow down our ability to speak freely, or I don't know, that there is just going to be like more and more weight and burden heaped on the things that we're allowed and not allowed to do. And I think that's dangerous because it just opens the floodgates to anything in my mind.
Yeah.
It just made me,
so it made you fearful in a more general sense, not like hey, yes, I can't write what I want in a book anymore type thing?
No, nothing like that.
Okay.
No, it's just fearful for our future, particularly in this country, that there's just going to be more and more things that we're not allowed to do and say that may have nothing to do with race and gender, but just that because someone got offended, or because a lot of people got offended, that something very banal and petty suddenly becomes a rule.
Do you guys think being offended is a choice?
Sometimes.
Like majority or minority?
I would say majority.
Okay. What about you, Josh?
Yeah, I think it mostly is a choice. Because the older I get, that I sort of recognize things that maybe jar me or rub me the wrong way that I could be offended by, but then I just sort of let that go, because there is almost no value ever in, you know, stirring up shit because I'm offended.
Right.
And yet, not that I'm some great sage or something, but I think just much of the world, or at least much of the people being very loud on the internet, don't have the emotional maturity to maybe just, when they're offended, maybe just move on and let it be.
Yeah.
Instead of creating this community around themselves and then taking people down. It depends on the issue, of course.
Sure.
But anyway.
So I have a quick thought, and then maybe we should hear from our sponsor.
Sure. Yeah. Good call.
We're far past sponsor point, but we need to make that money.
Yeah. Me and Josh do anyway.
Yeah. Well, I'm a host, so I'll be taking a cut as well. And I'm also bringing your sponsor this week. So
okay.
That'll help. But so to touch on one more thing that Josh was saying earlier is the idea of kind of these freedoms getting stripped away. And in the Joe Rogan podcast, this professor is from Canada, but we're not that far off from the way they're set up there. But I feel kind of the same way when it comes to the internet. Like, I like how uncensored the internet, and granted, it's, there is some wily, crazy, gnarly stuff.
Like, for sure, over the line stuff.
Yes, I mean, without a doubt, on the internet. But I would rather have that there, not so I can access it, but it's just so it's like, okay, well, you can have that stuff on the internet. Like, just don't censor it or tell me what I can or can't put, because once
there's never going to be a perfect medium. Like, the pendulum is going to either be one side or the other.
Exactly.
So we should be on the side that allows more freedom.
Yeah, and I would say it goes with speech and pronouns, etc., and requirements. And I mean, I say this is like for the common person. Granted, if you own a business, it's a different thing. If you're, in the public eye, on TV, giving the news, it might be a different thing. But, conversations, regular people. And I mean, I would say even in this case with a professor, like, he's in an environment where he's teaching and expanding people's views on the world. Like, he should be able to expand people's views on the world around them. So I don't know. That's another parallel I thought of is I think there's horrible things on the internet that, you should never participate in or access. But the fact that they're there shows that, it's still open and free and people can do and say what they want.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not going to add to it. We're just going to go to our sponsor right now. You ready?
Yeah.
All right.
Nailed it. So this is actually a returning sponsor.
Oh, no.
A few weeks ago, we had Adorable Portable Portals on.
It went to Portable Portal.
No, they've actually changed their name.
Oh.
They've included the Adorable. So they're Adorable Portable Portals. So not only have they accessed 5 minutes into the future, they've also accessed, they got this idea from the last sponsor ad. They're able to go into the past now as well, 5 minutes.
Oh, you can choose the direction.
Excellent.
And the newest addition to portable, Adorable Portals.
Wait, is it Adorable Portable Portals or?
It's APP, Adorable Portable Portals. Sorry, I messed that up. I'll use the app real quick to fix it.
The APP app?
Andy,
all right,
Andy, please use the term that they would prefer to be called by.
Yes. Fixed it. So they have also opened up portals to hell. So with their new go to hell option, it's a little more than $6.50 to open the portal.
That's not much more.
Yeah, it's not much at all. So you can go in. I mean, you can go see demons. There's even like some of the more mythical creatures. There's werewolves, vampires.
Wait a second. Are you telling me if I see someone on the internet who has an opinion I don't like, I could make a door to hell and throw them into it?
No, there's a chance. Okay, so there's this weird like kind of time space thing where when you go to hell, it's actually everybody that's ever going to go to hell is going to be there. So, I mean, you're going to see your Hitlers, your Stalins.
Future Hitlers.
Yeah,
future Stalins?
future Hitlers,
They'll be
future
there already.
Stalins. There'll be like Miley
Walt
Cyrus.
Disney. Hey.
Yeah, Miley Cyrus, Jonah Hill. They'll all be there.
God.
So, I mean, it's your option. You can dip in, dip out.
So we got 3 options. You go forward in
Dipping
time 5
balls.
minutes, you go backward in time 5 minutes, or you go to hell.
You can go to hell, and you can go in and come back out, which is
Okay.
really nice.
That if there's a feature of hell I want, it's the ability to get out of there.
Yeah, so it's a nice like kind of
Get out of
early
hell
access
free card.
pack 1 month subscription kind of thing where you can see like if you're there, you'll know you need to shape up a little bit.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so you have some options to get out of hell. Sorry, Josh, did you have a question?
Oh no, I've just been making tiny little comments that are too quiet to hear over the Skype call.
Okay.
But Andy will get them later in the
I
record.
can't wait to hear what you said.
And you like they have some great shirts. You can get shirts that say like hell yeah or I've been to hell and back again, and you can mean
Hell
it.
is for lovers.
And then anytime someone tells you to go to hell, you can say, I've already been. Don't worry about it. So, yeah, that's our sponsor this week from Adorable Portable Portals.
From hell.
I just had a thought
Oh.
that what if we combined the powers of our sponsors' products?
Like
what
Captain
if
America?
What if I opened the Go to Hell app and then I sent that me to hell to just sort of scope it out? And
Oh, yeah. A surrogate in hell.
right, because
Oh.
that'd be you sort of avoid the burning and the pain.
Chafing. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Oh,
just
boy.
sort of see who's in there.
This is a whole world we could explore is combining sponsors.
Huh.
We could do some amazing stuff. All right. Well, anyway, is there a website they need to go to,
Yeah,
Stefan?
inkandecho.com/adorable portable portals, open parentheses,
No, we can't.
go to hell, close parentheses.
There's no prints.
Promo code for 20% off. You can use any of the following: hell yeah, what the hell, and go to hell.
Great.
And sometimes they come back, that one too.
Okay.
And Children of the Corn and 666 and Slayer.
And Freak on a
Fuck
Leash.
yeah.
All right.
We all float down here.
Okay.
Adorable portable portal in your pocket.
All right. Great. Thank you for bringing that sponsor on. We'll for sure give you your cut, Stefan.
Thanks.
Well, now what? Back to the heavy shit?
Well,
or-
hey, we mentioned how he went a lot of different places in that podcast.
Mhm.
The later part where he started talking about religion, I kind of thought, I was like, oh, this is why Josh wanted us to listen to this.
You bitch.
Well, no, but so far, no, I don't mean that in a bad way at all. I'm just sort of surprised that that's not where it went from the get go. But what did you think of that stuff? Dun, 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 Okay. Are we just calming down for a minute? Is that what's happening?
No, just wait. I was gonna talk. I was gonna play that under
I,
Josh was talking, but
That part was actually of lesser
Okay.
significance to me. No.
that's the part I found most fascinating. Can I talk about that?
Please.
Yeah, and then
I'll-
I'll decide about whether I could speak about what happened to me after I heard that part. Go ahead.
Okay. I'll just touch on it briefly. I found it super fascinating because he used the idea of religion being an archetype for how humans interact with the world and who they are within themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I agree with him as far as like, I think I believe pretty strongly in the duality of humans, that each person inside has the potential to do great evil and great good.
Okay.
And that we see that played out in grander scales just based on like who's in power and kind of what we allow to happen to us as people and what we allow ourselves to do to others. So I thought it was interesting. It wasn't really the crux of the podcast, but I didn't expect him to go there, and he went there. And it was really interesting that he pulled out all these archetypes through religious literature as well as
Well, and he seemed to be saying that religion was important, but didn't seem to mention anything spiritual at all, and potentially maybe seemed like he didn't believe in anything. I mean, maybe he did. I don't know.
He never really got specific as to where he was at, and seemed Christianity leaning, but then he also coupled Christianity along with basically every other religion and kind of called it just one of many,
right?
In a way,
right? Yeah. Why did he even get there? How do those things connect?
So I think he went there because he was talking about like how religion and even like great art points us to a higher idea of morality outside of scientific fact. Because he says that like you can't derive morality from science. Like they're two opposite forces, but they need to work harmoniously. And because he was getting into a little bit of the neuroscience of what makes people act and react the way that they do. And the reason they act and react the way that they do is because of these deep-seated truths that are just embedded in us, period. Like, and he wasn't pointing to any one religion saying this one has it right, but he's saying there's all these common themes that point us to a higher good that have value, even though they're not scientifically quantifiable. Is that right, Josh? Is that sum it up?
Yeah, I would say so for sure. It's curious that he called himself a deeply religious person and also a deeply scientific.
Well, he
person.
just seemed to define religion in a very interesting way,
right.
Not normal, potentially.
So what happened to you, Andy?
Oh God.
Did you get possessed by a science demon?
No. I was listening to this podcast in the shower. I had an evening shower because I was cold, so I wanted to get warm.
Good call.
And I was listening to it, and I got to this section, and the shower got cold water, so I turned it off, and I just sat there on the side of the tub for like a long time, and was just listening to it. I was kind of feeling bad. And then, so, I mean, long story short, my wife came in and she was like, what are you doing in here? And I was like, I basically, I hope I don't regret saying this on the podcast, but I kind of came out to her as like, I don't know if I believe in God anymore.
Wow.
And the podcast, when I hear people like him talk about how, yeah, and I wish I need to remember it again. I'm not remembering it the way I wish I could. But, when you hear someone smart kind of lump all religions together and basically none of them are special, that always kind of messes with me. And I've had these feelings for quite a while, and I'm not landed anywhere by any means. But that was the first time that I've really specifically said that to Megan. Yeah, because my mind was just spinning while that section was going. I was like, I don't know about any of this, and I think I need to like say it finally, at least to her. So I don't know what you guys take from that at all, and I'm confused as to my own thoughts and feelings, but that's a thing that happened because of this podcast. So
yeah, it's all my fault. Andy lost religion. Just kidding. I know.
Well, Ink and Echo is now Ink and Satan. What would it be?
I can
Ink
use the
and
app.
science.
Goes right to hell.
Well,
go ahead, Josh.
Sorry. Go. Okay. That's interesting because thank you for saying that. I'm glad you did.
I wish you didn't.
Starting
I'm
with
really uncomfortable.
When we had our conversation with Skylar, and then it could be because he alluded to something like that wasn't quite as articulate, but it's still just kind of stuck in my brain. And then Bazan on the
Oh, yeah.
first episode that is not currently public. He said some things as well, and then again with Jordan B. Peterson, and I don't know, it's all of these things are making me. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to turn this on myself. I'm
I was done.
To a point.
I want it to be on you right now.
It's just making me realize. I don't know. Essentially, why do I believe these things? Do I really believe where these things came from? Because I mean, I think in a healthy way, it makes me recognize that I've just sort of taken what has been fed to me for 28 years, essentially. And it doesn't actually remove my belief in at least some form of God as a person. And actually, I do believe Jesus is tied up in that. But sort of the dogmatic and thick with rule Baptisty based Christianity stuff, that stuff seems to be slipping off of me more and more. And yet, at the core, there's still this sort of undeniable sense that I know that some being, I happen to believe it is God at this point, but that has done things in my life that I can't really deny. And yet that, me just saying that doesn't have anything to do with sort of the rules and the religion and church and whatever else. It's a relationship with what I believe to be an actual being. And so I don't know, that in a way that doesn't concern me or anything to hear you say that, because in a way I feel like, I don't know, this might open you up to just explore what's really there,
Right.
What's really going on in your head. And
yeah. Well, and the weird thing was, this stuff has been making me feel bad for quite a while, my thoughts on it. But saying it to Megan, I felt better the next day than I thought I would have.
and
I don't know, where do we want to go from here?
Well,
Well,
I mean,
I mean,
do you want to keep talking about this? You seem kind of uncomfortable. Like,
I mean, I'm
we don't have
uncomfortable because the whole thing is uncomfortable, but that doesn't mean we have to stop talking about it.
Yeah, like
Because my problems, Josh, stem deeper than what you just said. Like, I don't feel like I have anything to hold on to, like what you just said, in terms of like some sort of experience or whatever. I feel like potentially it's all stuff that was told to me, and I either just wanted to believe or just did because it was there. You know, I very much would like to have an experience just so I could feel secure in something. That would be nice for my mental well-being.
Yeah.
But that doesn't exist. And I've not been in a good mental place for most of this year, so that, you know, who knows, next 6 months from now I could be 100% different. I'd love to be 100% different, but that's not where I'm at right now. So so there's that.
Yeah, I've become more and more comfortable with the idea of like other people not believing in God, and I don't know like if that totally matters to you, but I mean there are a few things to look at for you personally, because there's more ramifications than just like, oh well, you know, I don't believe, but I'm still going to live my life the same, like, which is probably essentially, you know, what you were saying, or you're like, I don't know if I believe. But then there's also the ramifications of like, oh, like your kids, like, I mean, your kids are going to church and going to Sunday school, and they're part of this indoctrination. And I don't use that term like super negatively, because that's usually used as just like, oh, they're being ignorantly educated. But, you know, when your oldest comes up to you and asks, you know, like, you know, do you think God did this? And like, you know, you're not going to tell. How old is he? Is he like 6?
6, yeah.
6. you're not going to tell them like, I don't believe in God. You know, like that's just something you don't want to drop on them, but at the same time you want to be honest and teach them and have them grow, you know, like and also like, okay, so my personal beliefs is like, okay, even if you don't necessarily believe in a God, like if there is a God, like I believe he is a just and righteous God. Like granted, there's a lot of crazy crap in the world, and we don't need to get into this huge I can't even think of the right word.
Thing? Is that what you're thinking?
Thing about God right now, but it's like even if you don't believe in God, like on a core level, like if God does exist, like is he the kind of God that's going to be like, well, screw you, you don't believe in me, I don't believe in you, we're done. And that I think is kind of the view that a lot of like traditional Christianity holds, and I don't think it's necessarily.
I don't feel like I've ever had that thought, and I'm not saying that like, and again, this is all not landed anywhere, but it's not that nothing exists. It's just that I there's no way to know what does exist more and more is what I think.
Yeah.
And I feel like through this, the one thing I have come to understand more is just the idea of faith, because it is, unless I'm getting it defined wrong, it's believing in something that you have no evidence for, which in my mind means, you know, waking up some mornings and be like, basically waking up everyone and be like, I choose to believe this.
Yeah.
And that kind of brings me, maybe explains why when I see people who say that they're like, have it figured out or are certain, then I'm like off board with that immediately.
Yeah. It kind of shuts you down a little bit.
Yeah, totally. And I'm like, okay, great. We can not have a conversation then. We can just go to something else.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah. And that idea is just weird to me. And that's all I really have to say about that idea specifically. Josh, what's my problem? Are you still there?
Well,
oh, okay.
I don't know if you have a problem. A lot of things are going through my head, and I don't know. For one thing, just to make mention, and I'm not being argumentative, but it actually also takes a decent amount of faith to wake up and just say there's nothing, and let that inform your life.
Or is it just like I'm waking up and looking at what's around me and taking in the facts and saying the facts tell me that there's nothing? That seems reasonable. I'm not the kind of guy who looks at a sunset and says, oh my gosh, can you believe people don't believe in a God? Look at that sunset. I'm like,
no, and I don't think you need to think that.
Yeah.
But so I guess, and if this is relatively new, which it is, you might not know the answer to this, but how is that going to inform the way you live, if at all? Or does nothing change, and do you just sort of actually kind of have a weight lifted? I
can't really answer that question, but I feel like it would just be a weight lifted. And just, you know, I've spoken many times on this podcast and to both of you about how I just feel, you know, mentally unable to compute many things at the same time. And it's like, if I could remove a whole plane of existence from my mind and have to worry about it, it's going to help me greatly on a daily basis, you know? If I truly believe that the only thing that exists is what's here to see, and I don't have to worry about this crazy other realm that supposedly maybe, and what that means, that seems, for however my mind is built, that seems like a positive. And that's purely just on like a functional level. Like,
it's just like condensing information
right,
so you can process it.
Yeah, and that's all I mean there as. So.
Right.
Well.
Yeah.
Is this where you want this podcast to go? Because we can let it go, but I just don't want to be a downer or whatever.
No, I'm glad we're here.
All right.
I guess it'll be interesting. And I mean, I honestly am glad that you will be able to live presumably with that weight gun, because
well, and you're assuming that I've made a choice and I haven't. The weight is very much there. So
okay, I got you. Yeah, but I guess belief in God should never come from a place of obligation, and definitely not from fear. And I know you don't have any of that. I'm just saying kind of generally, because I don't think you do get this from me, but it shouldn't just be like you better believe or you're in for it or something. I don't feel that at all. But I also feel that I don't know, frankly, like if you are God's, then you walk how you're going to walk, and then at some point down the road, he's basically going to knock you off your feet in a way that is undeniable.
Sure.
And that doesn't mean that it's some epic, like, road to Damascus experience.
Yeah.
And I've never had anything even close to that. But it's just like, sure, do what you're going to do. And as long as you treat your wife and children well and other people, and I believe that you will.
Well, and the only thing I say is I very much I'd love to not have to figure this shit out. Like, hey, God, if you're there, fucking strike me down right now. Change this IPA into a stout before I put it in my mouth. And then I'll be like, okay, great. There's a thing I can point to for the rest of my life and be like, yeah, well, I got IPA changed into a stout. That's a stupid example, but you know what I mean? Like, if there's a sign I could have, like, bring it on, that would also reduce my mental anguish as well. Because then I could be like, oh, there's this thing that happened.
I feel like that would just increase it. Unless
Really?
it was like super clear. Like, so it was just something subtle, like
Well,
flipped your
yeah.
car, you flipped your truck tomorrow on the way to Albuquerque. And then you're like, there's no way I should have lived. And I lived. And you're like, did I do that because of chance or because I asked for God to strike me
I mean
down?
something clear, which I don't know if that ever actually happens. So all I'm saying is, like, I'm not, like, hell, it would be far easier for me if I, like, believed in this wholly. My entire family, extended family is Christian, in-laws all Christian, seem very well-adjusted, good people, good at this Christian thing, and I'm just like, oh my God, like, if I could just fit in, I would feel better about everything.
You're
So,
like, oh my nothing.
no, I hope I'm not.
No. I'm sorry. I'll stop making jokes.
No, you make all the jokes
so-
you want, but it's just like this is not like a decision by any means. It's just an acknowledgement of the question. So that's it.
Yeah, and I feel like it's perfectly reasonable and rational. I just put those words together. Like, it's a perfectly, like, reasonable and rational idea to entertain. And, like, I mean, even if you land on one side or the other, that doesn't mean you're going to not change 20 years down the road. You know?
Sure. Yeah, that's one thing that's most important to me, is that, like, I will change. I'm open to me changing, and so what I'm feeling now, I maybe shouldn't put so much pressure on.
Yeah, I was going to say, it doesn't really stress me out, you saying that, and it shouldn't really stress you out. Granted, I understand the weightiness of it.
Well, and maybe that's why I felt better after I talked to Megan, because I was like, I can just talk about it now. I'm so bad at that.
Yeah.
Just say it, especially with her specifically.
Yeah.
But it's just a lesson I have to keep learning. Like, yeah, just say. But the thing, I'm just
Say what you need to say.
Oh God, yeah. So it felt better to say it.
Yes.
So whatever.
It's whatevs.
It's whatever. No big deal. NBD. Oh my God. Thank you, Stefan, for that dark dirge. Well,
Oh boy, man, we spanned the couplet.
we ran the gamut.
Couplet?
Span the couplet.
Ran the gamut.
Spanked the
Thank you.
podcast.
Josh, why do I get phrases better than you a lot of times on this podcast?
Because I'll tell you why.
Spanked the
Sitting alone at a computer, I can sort through my thoughts before they reach the printed
You're sitting
page.
alone at a computer right now.
But I have to say them out loud in real time.
I'm sitting alone with Andy.
Hey, can I change the subject drastically?
Yeah.
Just to lighten the mood. Play it in major key. Is that what you
that
just
would
did?
be like, go ahead, change it.
Yeah, that's great. I want to know, I've surely talked to Stefan about this, but I want to know your thoughts, Josh. Your favorite, not necessarily curse words, but insults that just so accurately describe what you're trying to describe in one word.
Well,
I mean, I have mine for sure on lock.
yeah.
Come on, Mr. Ryder, you've got to have like favorite, like some nerdy Shakespearean insult or something.
Oh, no, I'm nothing highfalutin like that. I mean, a couple of things come to mind, but they're not ones that I actually use. They're things that appear in movies, which is kind of a weird connection. I remember on the first season of True Detective, there's a scenario where Woody Harrelson, where he's being interviewed by the two cops, and I'm going to... After we talk in religion, I talk about faith, I'm going to use the Lord's name in vain, in fact, so to quote this. But one of the cops gets offended, both the cops are black, by the way, because they think that Woody Harrelson has made a racial slur, and he goes, Jesus, everybody's a fucking drama queen. And it was just such a perfect little joke. The other one that comes to mind, which is also, oddly enough, cursing the Lord or whatever. I don't know what I'm even saying, but from Oh Brother, Where Art Thou, when George Clooney says, I don't want fop, god damn it, I'm a Dapper Dan man. It's just one of my favorite lines in anything.
Yeah.
So those are my answers. I've never used either one of those in real life.
Okay. Stefan, you know what my two favorites are, right?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if they're insults, but they're just more of they're commentaries.
They're vulgar words that so accurately describe what they're describing.
I'll fill you in on what Andy's favorites are.
No, I want to say them.
Okay.
Let me say them.
Well, let me say mine, and then you can say yours, because yours are like granddaddy big ones. Mine are mediocre. I really like lowbrow, like calling someone a butthead. Like if you're
Or
ever
an asshat.
Yeah, that's like that's a little too high. That's like one step above.
That's too high.
Yeah, that's like
It's like a dad joke.
yeah, like your stepdad's mad at you and he's like, clean up your room, you asshat. But calling someone a butthead, like if you're in an argument and you're going back and forth and you like with a serious face call someone a butthead, like that argument's done. Like you can't. Or like butthead or butthole, like stop being a butthole.
Butthead's the one. Another movie reference, Back to the Future, when Biff is like, "What are you looking at, butthead?"
Yeah, it's perfect.
It's just so effective. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just disarms the whole situation. It's the SWAT team of insults,
and it's perfect because you can't even necessarily get offended by it.
Yeah.
Like when you move to ass, yeah, that's another level.
Calling someone like a dillweed, like shut your mouth, you dillweed, and be like, did you say dillweed?
What about crotch goblin? Where does that one go?
That's perfect.
That's just too obscure. It doesn't even. It's like
crotch goblin. Obscure.
That's getting into like weird horror literature or something. It's not even offensive. It just sounds like a little creature,
like a little crotch goblin. Have you guys ever heard of Necrogoblicon?
Is that Evil Dead 2 with goblins?
No.
Necronomicon?
No. Necrogoblicon. It's a
Is
metal
that the
band.
book?
Go look it up.
Oh,
okay. Probably not going to do that.
No, you'll love it.
Okay.
You'll love it.
Great.
What are your favorite
Andy,
insults, Andy?
All right. Get ready, Josh. I'm surprised I haven't told you this before. My 2 favorite words.
They need to beep them out.
No. Circle jerk and clusterfuck.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Those are the
sure.
best, just in terms of describing what's happening. Like, there was a guy at my old job who would always describe like meetings as a clusterfuck.
Yeah.
I just think it's just the most apt. Like, everyone is just a complete jerk off, or nothing is getting done. It's just such a clusterfuck in there. And then circle jerk, just like everybody is. It basically it. You could use the word echo chamber if you wanted.
Yeah. That's the PC version.
Right? But so there you go.
Echo chamber. Wow. Yeah, clusterfuck is very satisfying. Well, both of those are like syllabically satisfying.
And there,
'Cause they
if you
sort of
say it in the right
contain
place,
all the elements. That,
yes, no, that's absolutely true. But and if you say them in the right place and the right time, people are like, "Oh yeah, totally." It's
Yeah.
exactly what it was.
Or like a flustercuck is like also pertinent.
Or cluster cuss, wasn't that in
Oh yeah.
that movie,
Yeah. It was.
Fantastic Mr. Fox?
Yeah. Old Wes
Oh yeah, all the
Anderson.
curse terms were they just said cuss.
Wait, and I want to say this too, because this will tie in how terrible of a human being I am, or at least how terrible of a Christian I am. But I
Do it.
have never felt like saying "God damn it" was a bad thing, because those, when you talk about syllables going well together, that's a great word. Great word. And I've never once, I didn't, I've said it before, I've never experienced any of the guilt that came with some of you two in terms of Christian upbringings.
Yeah.
So I listen to Limp Bizkit and say, "God damn it," and I don't feel bad about it.
I like when people do like the southern version of like "God damn," like where it's like
It's just really cut off.
it's like a T, and then there's no it's just short.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't use it on a regular basis, but when people do, I enjoy it.
I just have zero like reaction to that word. I just think those syllables sound great together. That's the extent of my enjoyment of that word.
When I was in 8th grade, I went to school with this kid from Texas, and he would say "hot damn."
That's good
And
too.
I always thought that was so dumb because, I mean, thinking about it later, maybe it was a sort of cleaner version of goddamn, but I would just think damn isn't a thing that can be hot. Like, that doesn't make sense.
You're thinking
he-
so literally about it. That's funny.
Well, I and that is how I thought about it at the time, because he would usually say it when he was excited, like "hot damn." I got a goal.
No,
in
it's
the
like
kickball
it's
game
like
or
It's a
something.
Wonderful Life when he says, "I wish I had $1 million." Hot dog when he lights the lighter
Oh,
in
yeah.
Mr. Gower's.
Yeah, exactly.
But it just changed dog to damn. Maybe that's what it is.
Let's, Andy, can you tell the story, or maybe, well, I wasn't even there, but about when you tried to shorten alternative country
Oh no.
to, you
Oh,
don't want
that's
to
a
tell
great.
that?
No,
Is
it's
that
it's a
too
great
bad?
story.
I know exactly what the punchline is, but I want to hear how you got there.
No, I was playing a show, Christian show, playing in a Christian band, and I was talking with the other guys in the green room, like, "Hey, it's funny how I don't know why we were talking about this, but like alternative rock, like alt rock is short for alt rock and roll." I was like, "Why isn't there
Right.
like alternative country, like alt cunt?" And then I was like, re, and then it said re really quick.
Oh, and there were people in the room who were
Oh,
clearly like taken aback by what had just been said.
and like people in like big bands who I hadn't been able to like introduce myself to. It's like, oh great, there's a guy who just said the C word.
Good job. There's only a couple curse words that like bother me.
Yeah, that
And
one.
that's
I
one
said
of
that
them.
because I'm telling the story. I would never say
Oh no,
that.
I'm not saying
Like-
you shouldn't have said it. I'm just saying I get uncomfortable when
offended.
people use that in a real way.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, it's horrific. Yeah.
I don't choose to get offended. I just don't enjoy it.
Right.
Ah.
Mm.
Let me say, man, I like this talking about cuss words. This is really therapeutic. My sister, whose married name is Kirk,
Oh.
Kirk.
Why are you saying it that way?
What?
Like it's a code or something.
What do you mean? What are you talking about?
I don't know. Why didn't you say her first name? Is this part of the story?
Maybe she doesn't want her full name said out loud on a podcast.
Okay. No, I was just curious why you were being that way. Okay, go ahead.
She thought about at one point, and maybe still is, starting a podcast with her husband, and they would call it Kirkle Jerk.
Yes.
Which
Yes.
it wouldn't even be about sex, but she just has sort of that depraved sense of humor like I do, and I thought that was excellent.
Yes. I love that.
Do circle jerks actually exist? Is that a real thing?
Oh my god.
They must.
I don't want to know about
Google
them.
it. I'll get back to you on the next
Do
time
not
I'm
Google
on.
that.
I'll send you pictures so you can put them up on the next
no.
podcast. Put them on your Patreon.
Ugh.
Put them on your Patreon.
None of that will happen.
Speaking of which, if you pay $1 a month, you can see pictures of circle jerks that Stefan sends in.
Oh my goodness.
Like, I found this. I put Kermit the Frog's face over everybody.
LincolnEcho.com/Patreon to see pictures of... Josh, is this good advertising for our Patreon page?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, sex sells, I would say.
Yeah, lots of sex
In
there.
Yeah.
Form.
I'll send you pictures of sex, too.
God.
Do you know where to find those?
Sex pictures?
Yeah. Do they
Wow.
make those?
What is happening to this show? Well, thanks. Oh, hold on. I know how to take us out with grace and style. Meow, meow, meow,
No.
meow, meow. Play that fucking track. Play that fucking track. Play that fucking track.
Thank you, Stefan.
You're welcome.